I was telling a friend about all my digestive issues, and she's also was having some of the same ones because it just like I felt terrible for about 3 or 4 days. And it was like that first day I kind of told you where it was like cramping, but
Mm-hmm.
like I wasn't really having diarrhea. And then for about 3 days after that, I would just eat and I would feel like everything would fill up from the throat down to my belly. Like I just felt so disgusting. So then
Oh.
I did a little meditation. And it was like, just eat really light tomorrow. And so I did. And I made myself one of my like digestive green shakes with like pineapple and ginger and stuff in it. And that really made me feel a lot better. And so I just ate light. I was like, I was hanging out with my friend. And so we ordered just like, we split like a small, because she wasn't feeling well either. She was having the same, similar kind of issue. So we just split like a little Mediterranean, like hummus, pita. And that felt really good to eat. And then the next day I just felt fine. And then she reminded me that Lee Harris in his April energies had said digestive issues, third chakra,
That's right.
willpower. And I was like, oh my God. Well, that made me feel so much better. And then all of a sudden it was just gone and I'm fine. And she's fine
Oh,
too.
well, that's
So
good. So it was
thank
only
God.
like
Like three
a
days
couple
of,
days. Yeah,
yeah.
but
And it wasn't
still.
horrible. It's not like, but I think it's horrible when when you have the stomach flu, it's like you just know you have the stomach flu and it sucks,
Yeah,
but you know it'll end because you know what you have. But
right.
you're like, what is this? This is weird. It's not anything like a normal thing. Is it ever going to end? How long am I going to feel like this? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's good that Lee Harris predicted digestive
Yeah, so
issues,
that
I
made me feel
guess.
better and it passed. And I don't know. It was like kind of around so there was a new moon. Was that yesterday? And then it was like square or something, the Mars Pluto conjunction. I wonder if it was the Mars Pluto thing. So I feel like that could cause digestive issues. I wonder what he was talking about. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, it's all fine now.
Well, that's good.
But you just don't know. You got to listen to those little energy updates by those people and find out. Be like,
Yeah.
just gives you a little relief. You're like, oh, I'm not crazy. That was that thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Um, I got feedback back from the woman that I did the not a slingshot, that I did a write-in for.
Okay.
Did I tell you that? Oh wait, I
Well, I
did
know
tell you that.
she.
She's a judge. So I got
Oh, that's
like the
right.
legal feedback. Like I just kept seeing her reading legal briefs and then writing something personal. And she was like, "Yeah,
Which,
I'm a judge, and I might apply for an opening on the appellate court. In which case, I would be reading legal briefings and writing my own opinions." I was like,
so
"Okay."
it sounds like she should apply then, probably.
Yeah, it did,
Yeah.
or it does. And then we talked about breath work. But what I got too is that she said that she felt blocked and she wanted to know like what she could do. And I saw her perusing a record store,
Mm-hmm.
and she replied back and said that like going to a record store doesn't resonate, but I do feel like I'm just like stuck going around and around and around. And it made me think of the record grooves
Oh, yeah.
and
Interesting.
whether we should talk about the record grooves and what that is.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, because I mean, I feel like I've definitely had some record grooves coming forward. So, did this come from the bubble a long time ago? I feel like maybe it did,
Yeah, I think so. I
or
think,
channeling of some sort.
yeah.
I remember the story. We were at the Orange Peel in Asheville, and we were at the dance party, and we weren't drinking. I wasn't drinking. Laura hardly ever drinks, if ever. But I felt drunk when we left. And then
I
the
remember
next
that.
day, I had a fucking hangover, which isn't possible because I didn't drink. And so we were like, what is going on? I mean, I had what felt like a hangover. And that's where we got the record grooves. That because I spent so much time when I used to go out, if I went out and was dancing, then I was more than likely drinking. And here I was back in the same setting, a dance club, a bar. Everyone around us was drinking. And so it like activated that record groove of, well, then I must be there drinking too. And so I had like the physical feeling of the hangover.
That was insane.
It was.
Well, and that's like what they kind of were saying, I remember, was that the more you've like repeated that thing, I would say pattern, I guess, whatever, but it's like the deeper the groove is
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
you, for each person. So it's like this is you've done this so many times. It's like it's a little bit like muscle memory.
Yeah, you've made it like a habit or routine, which I started listening to Atomic Habits. Yes, I know I'm late to the party. The book's been out forever and I get it. Uh, but I started listening to it on my drive. And he actually mentions that how the longer you have a habit or the longer that you do something on repetition, the deeper the groove. I think he actually even says groove.
Oh my God, does he
So
really?
yeah, so it can mean that it's harder to overcome, but it also just means that it's just a pattern that is so set that one, you're probably unaware of it. So you need to like have awareness around what am I doing and why so that you can course correct over it. And then he talked about this exercise where like the only way that you can become aware of your habits, so the only way you can become aware potentially of what your grooves are is you have to have awareness. You have to like step back and look at like what am I doing on repeat, and am I even conscious that I'm doing this on repeat? So he's like, first you do your morning, you get up in the morning, you write down every single thing you do in the morning. And then if you are looking at this from the perspective of wanting to also change your habits, you put a plus by it if it's a positive, quote unquote, positive habit, negative by it if it's a negative habit, and an equal sign by it if it's neutral. And you have to decide what's positive, negative, or neutral. But it's like, is it adding value to the person that you want to be or the person that you want to become? Is it taking away from that, or is it just like a net neutral? So like brushing your teeth for one person could be neutral. Of course, I'm going to brush my teeth in the morning, but it could be a positive for another person who maybe wasn't brushing their teeth every morning, but wants to make a habit of brushing their teeth every morning.
Right.
So it's very personalized. So I was thinking about that in relation to the grooves and was like, I don't know how that exercise would have applied toward like the groove of going out and overindulging.
Well, I feel like what he's talking about is like clearly it's like your like physical practices in your life versus like I don't know how to say what I'm saying. Um versus like an energetic like going out and drinking isn't really a habit, is it?
Oh my God, yes. For a lot of people, that is a habit.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, like
Says Laura, who doesn't drink. Yes.
well
Says
like
Candy, who used to
yeah,
drink.
I now when I said it I was like yeah, no, that's not right. Like I see what he's saying, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. It's like to me the record grooves are a deeper
Well, he's addressing habits. And so habits aren't
like
always that deep, but they can be that deep.
right.
And what the grooves are addressing could also be habits, but it can also be something much deeper, like a lifestyle
Well, like
or.
we've never said brushing your teeth is a groove. You know what I'm saying? So like to me the grooves are like built on you're probably in the groove because well, there could be a lot of reasons, but it's the grooves I always felt was like something you go to therapy for. Versus like the habits, yeah, when you're looking at your habits the way he's telling you, you might start seeing your grooves, but you're brushing your teeth is not a groove. It's just
Correct.
like
But for the maybe the people who aren't used to looking at their own behavior, that I think he's talking to those people of this is one way that you can start to look at your behavior because
right, it's systemized.
yeah, exactly. Yes, he talks a lot about systems that he doesn't want you setting goals because a goal is like something that you work to achieve and then you're done with it. He
Or
wants you
something you fail at.
yes, something that you like you're trying to do, like running a marathon is a goal. So you do it, maybe you do it well, maybe you don't, doesn't matter, but you do it and then it's over. So he wants you to focus on the systems. Like are the systems that need to be put in place for me to be able to run a marathon?
Right.
because the systems last, the goal comes and goes.
Right.
I was like, oh, I like that a lot because I hate goals. I hate goal setting.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of putting the systems in place.
Right. And then it's like, then you got to be conscious of when it's time to change the system.
Yes. But the toothbrush example was because I think he's just trying to get, or like going over your day. I mean, he just started in the morning, but he's like, you just do it for every part of your life, is just
Right.
getting in that habit of observing, bringing into your conscious awareness, what the hell do I do every day?
Right. I think this is reminding me of what I was thinking that like what, and I want to know how he'd address it or if he even is addressing it. But like to me, he's talking about actions and activities and like things you do, like going out or whatever.
Yeah.
But we used to talk about the patterns a lot, and the way that it was kind of presented was, or excuse me, the grooves is like you might have a groove that's a reaction to the way you react to someone saying a certain thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's like that's I think where I was thinking like there is a difference, but I couldn't figure it out. But I think that's what I was saying. It goes deeper. It's more like you might not write down in your daily habits of what you're doing all day of like, well, Brad said this to me and I flew off the handle again, unless that's what he's saying.
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in the book, but like at
You could
some
apply
point,
it.
yeah, you should potentially be looking at it that way, because that is possibly a habit, a groove,
Right.
a routine.
Right.
Yeah.
That you, yeah.
Anyway, it was just interesting that he used the word groove, and that write-in had asked about feeling stuck, and I saw the record store, and then she mentioned the groove, like feeling stuck in a groove, which of course, if you feel stuck in a groove, like you're stuck. So we were back to the whole record, like the visual of the record. And I was like, oh man, I think there's something here that probably needs to be discussed.
Right. I wonder too, like, she's like, it doesn't resonate to go to the record store, but actually, maybe she should, because what I was feeling was like, it's something she would never do.
Right, exactly.
So, like, and because, and this is like really interesting actually, because when you go to a record store, you're just browsing, you're looking through stuff, and it brings up memories because records, if you're any older, an older person or whatever, you were around in the 80s, and it also gives you like kind of like going to a bookstore. It gives you things to look through, to think about, to remember, and it kind of just like I don't know. It's just like a good exercise for the brain, basically. Put yourself in a different location. It might like rewrite something.
No, that's exactly what I saw, ironically enough. It was just like, I just see you browsing through, and you're just like flipping through the records. And for whatever reason, the records all seem to have like a 70s vibe to them. Like it's those faded images, which make the record look old, whether it's new or old, doesn't matter. But it's probably going to elicit some memories, and that's going to open the creative channel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I still think she needs to go to a record store. I'm still going to stick with that. I know it might not be something that you normally do, but that's the point.
Yeah, that's the point. And that was the other thing was I was thinking about when we went with our friends down to Madison, Indiana, and we went hiking and we went to that and like we were exploring. Katie and I like to say exploring.
Exploring.
We went exploring, went into the town and walked around. It's just like such a basic thing to do, but just felt so refreshing because I was thinking about that. Like you're getting into the groove of your life. And when you were talking about that, sometimes I get up and I'm like, oh, I'm just not brushing my teeth this morning because I do it every fucking day before I drink my coffee anyway. So I'm going to do it later to make the day different. So like that whole idea of having like a habit makes me want to kill myself. Like the constant ritual of the same thing every day all the time.
Yeah, but we do it on repeat
I
all the
know we
time
do
without
it.
even thinking about it.
Yeah, but like I feel like more lately I've been really consciously aware of getting up and doing the same thing every day.
Yeah,
Like, oh, I'm
right.
doing the same thing again. You know what I mean? But what I was saying was those little, like just going to a new place, for me at least, really like shakes that up. So when we went on that little day trip to us, like there's nothing to see there. It's just a cute old town, but it just was so refreshing. And it reminds me of that. I don't know what it was, something on Instagram probably, but they were basically saying, like, let's say you're like, oh, I need to rest this weekend. Like, I'm tired. So I'm just going to lay on the couch and watch TV and relax all weekend. And like by the end of the weekend, somehow you're more tired.
Right.
But if you would go and do something like visit some places you've never been or do something that like really fills you up, you're so much more refreshed, even though it took like effort and energy.
Yeah. Or if you, instead of laying on your couch watching Netflix, which is probably something you always do when you get tired, maybe take a blanket and go to a park
Yeah.
and lay down on the ground. Like, yeah, there's lots of little ways to change it up. I think it's just about breaking the routine, breaking the monotony,
Right.
which is where the stagnation comes, the frustration comes, the blocks come, the feeling stuck comes, and all that stuff.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny? I just was watching the first episode of Eva Longoria has a series on CNN about traveling to Spain. And so I watched the first one, and she's in Catalonia, which is where Barcelona is. And they're talking about, I'm going to forget the words, but it's Seni. And then the other word is something. And it's just a thing they just like, it's just like part of their culture. And it's the practical Seni with the like crazy. So they always talk about like having a balance of being practical and like being really creative and just like over the top and crazy, which is why their food culture is so like so forward. So but it's kind of like that's what I was thinking. It's like you're in that practical, you've got your routines, your daily whatever, but it's like where do you break that? Because the one is so tedious. But if you don't have something to anchor back to sometimes, then you feel like you're just out there like floating around.
Well, and I think it depends probably on the person, probably on their astrology, probably on their cards, um, and probably on like what they want their life to look like. Because he also told us a really interesting story about the British cycling team, who apparently was horrible. They were so bad that sponsors didn't want them using their products because they didn't want to be associated with a losing team.
Oh my God.
That's how bad they were. And I think they got a new coach, and the coach was just like, basically, any improvement is improvement. And we've got so many things that we can tweak here. We're just going to start making all these little small tweaks. And eventually, all those little small tweaks are going to add up to this massive change, which is what the author also says too, is that you just like tweak all these little things, and then all of a sudden you have like this massive shift. And so they started doing all these little modifications and tweaks. And I don't want to say too much in case somebody wants to read the book and hasn't read it yet. But through the course of all these like little minor adjustments, they ended up like cleaning house at the Olympics. So they went from the worst of the worst to the best of the best, all from like little tweaks. And so like with those people, like everything is habit, everything is regimented, everything is on repeat, because you're repeating to find like the small gains and the small adjustments. And that probably is the most satisfying way for those individuals to live their lives. I would probably go crazy, but clearly like it works for some subset of humanity, or maybe we're the subset. I don't know.
Yeah. So will you give like the overview of the Atomic Habits book? Like what's he saying in general?
He's basically saying, I think the premise of the book is people try, like when people want to make change, it's like the thought process is, I'm going to go for like this massive change. Like I'm going to focus on the big thing, and you lose sight of all the little things along the way. And it's all those little things, those little adjustments that build upon themselves that creates the massive change. Because it's like, for example, he talks about if you decide you want to be a runner, like if you want to run a marathon, he's like, you can say it one way is, I'm going to run a marathon, which is one thing finite in time. And then how do you become a marathon runner? Like you don't just do it. But he's like, along the way, what you do is you just break down all of these little small micro atomic atom, these little micro modifications that you can put in place to your life so that you can build the habits to not only run a marathon, but to become a runner. Because he even goes into the languaging. Like if you say, I run marathons, or I'm going to run a marathon, then you haven't changed your life. You're just going to run a marathon versus saying I'm a runner. Well, now all of a sudden you've changed your life by saying I'm a runner. Like that brings with it this whole idea, awareness, assumption, way you look at your own life.
Yeah, I can feel even the energy if you just like hear the words and like feel the energy of the words. It's like I run marathons. You can feel the energy of that like plop and the date on the calendar every like so many months.
Yeah, I check a box. Checked
Yeah.
it.
Versus like I'm a runner and then that means like it's like part of who you are and it's part of what you do.
Right. Yeah. So it's the small things that you can change in your life that lead to big changes. So you become a runner who runs marathons. But to become a runner, like you've got to do all of this habit creation. You don't just go out and just start running one day. And if you want it to be long distance, you don't just go out and run long distance. You've like got to build into it. So then he talks about this thing like habit stacking, where you've already got habits like brushing your teeth may or may not be a habit for someone. So what can you build? What habit can you create around anchoring habits so that it's easier for you to build a new habit? So part of running is building strength. Maybe you do 10 push-ups every day before or after you brush your teeth, because every day you're brushing your teeth.
Right.
And
You
so
use
like
an anchor. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So
It reminds
I
me
mean,
of the time, yeah, it
ahead.
took me 6 months to try to remember to bring my fucking bags into the grocery store when I first like bought bags to take in myself. Oh my God. I mean, you go to the grocery store, that's the habit. But then
Yeah.
it's like remembering to bring them in with you.
Right.
Now I don't forget, but it took me a long time.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. So he would probably say, what else do you do when you go in the grocery store? Well, you always grab your purse. So put the bag next to your purse.
Right. Perfect.
So then you never forget the bag. And now the habit gets created that much quicker. Anyway, so it's stuff like that I was like, oh my God, it's so subtle and so obvious.
Right.
But it's also like the languaging, because words matter, and the intent, and
Because intention matters.
yeah. And
Well, okay, so back to the grooves. I remember, and I don't know if you remember because I can't remember anything, perimenopause, thanks. We asked them one time, like, can you fill them up? Like,
oh yeah,
just caulk like the ring around your record and like fill that
Fill it
groove in
in.
and just like get rid of it. I have no idea what they said. We could ask it again. Do you remember what they said?
I do, because I feel like we were asking a question in relation to one of my grooves. They were like, it might never totally go away, but it's like the depth of the groove, it becomes more shallow. Or if you think about it actually on a record, you know how like some grooves are wide on a record face and some are narrow on a record face? They're like, it can become more narrow. So it has less of an impact, or you like feel it less. You're less drawn to it. But I feel like at
step
least
into the habit less.
at least in
Yeah.
regards to me, they were like, yeah, no, you're probably never going to get rid of some of these grooves because they're so deep and so ingrained. But you can be aware of it and lessen its impact.
Okay, can I ask some questions?
Oh yeah, in the bubble. Yeah.
Okay, so how do they like, I know this is like so general, but I don't care. How do they, how do you shrink or lessen your grooves?
Okay. Well, they like that you asked the question. They're like, it's not simple. It's not basic. So it's a good question. Well, what they're showing, I'm not sure what this means, but what they're showing is essentially the groove filling in. So think of the groove kind of like a ditch. and they're showing it like gradually being filled in so that instead of it being a ditch, it's more level with the ground around it. So you're not falling into the groove, because basically when you're going into a groove, typically, all right, now they're backing up. They're like, all right, so let's back up a bit. When we're talking about grooves, grooves can be quote unquote positive or negative, but
Oh my God, that was my question in my head. Continue.
but they're like, you're gonna care less about course correcting a positive groove because it's positive. It's something that you enjoy about yourself or that is benefiting your life in some way. So they're like, we're just gonna take positive grooves and assume that you're okay with keeping them, and we're just gonna sit them over and we're not gonna address them. What we're gonna focus on is the negative grooves, the things that you don't enjoy about your life, which means your behavior or reactions to something. Those are the grooves that we're going to focus on. So the quickest way to fill in those grooves is to replace them with a behavior that feels more positive. And they're like, in some cases, this will be easy because there's a clear opposite force to what someone is experiencing. But they're showing me like the example of going to a club, being sober, dancing around people that are drinking but not drinking, and then the next day feeling hungover. They're like, that groove, like there's not a clear one-to-one relation because I did the quote unquote positive things, but still had the negative effect. So in a situation where you're meeting life from a more positive perspective, but still feeling the negative leftover of the groove, the quickest way to start filling it in is in the awareness of it and the forgiveness of it. And it's like, okay, I used to go to the club and drink too much. Like it got activated because there's a part of you that is judging yourself for it. That's
Right.
what we wanted you to realize. Not so much that you used to do it,
Or that it's
but
bad in and of itself.
exactly, but that you
Right.
didn't like that version of you that you became as a result of that behavior. So you would judge that part of you. That also fuels the hangover, the judgment. Like there's like the physical hangover in the body, the chemical hangover in the body from the ingestion of alcohol or whatever. But then there's also the energetic hangover, which is the judging and the negative self-talk and like the like beating yourself up and you're not even aware of it, the regret, the shame. So they're like, there's multiple things happening. So there's like, if there's not I showed up and I did it this way, next time I can show up and do it this other way, and it's a one-to-one to turn it from a negative to a positive. If it's more vague, then there's something deeper to look at, and it's in the awareness of it. What they want you to look at that situation. How did you used to behave? How did you used to respond, react? And how do you feel about that? Because that is the healing. And then forgiving yourself, like honoring that version of you. That younger version of Candy did the best she could, and the best she could was just going out sometimes and getting hammered because like that's what she needed to do. And I recognize that she didn't have any more depth to the tool set at the time, and she was just trying to take care of herself by allowing herself the freedom to let go and let loose and be silly and stupid. And I forgive then the version of me the next day that would judge that part of me for being silly and stupid and letting loose in that way. And I honor myself by making better decisions going forward. And I appreciate and have gratitude for the fact that I've been able to do that. And I'll continue to do that to the best of my ability. So it's like figuring out whatever your little spiel you need to put in place for yourself to really feel that honest acceptance of the groove that was created, why it was created, and then realizing, okay, so I can just like create another groove on top of this.
Right. And so I guess, you know, when they first kind of were saying like, that's so good, and the wording that you just used was so good. The positive and the negative, like the thing that makes the groove a problem, is not the groove itself, is actually the judgment of the pattern or the groove, or
Yeah,
the
what we
way it makes you feel, maybe
right, what
really
we
is what I
feel
would say.
around it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what we feel around it, which is really true about anything, but we're just talking about like patterns, really,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to the degree that the write-in said she felt stuck, like there's an energetic judging around that of, ugh, I feel stuck again.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't feel stuck. I should feel this other way.
Yeah.
And so that's at the core of all of this, is like stepping back and looking at why she feels stuck, and then allowing herself to acknowledge when she does feel stuck, what can she do to like quickly override that or easily override that? Like, you know, she needs to develop a new groove to like bust her out of that.
Right.
Because they're like, a
And
lot of these grooves are going to happen. Like there are going to be times in your life where you're going to feel stuck.
right.
So what are you going to do when you feel stuck? Are you going to sit there and be like, I'm such an idiot, like I feel stuck and there's nothing I can do about it, and I'm just not smart enough to like not feel stuck, or like I've used up all my creative juices, or like one thing I used to say is I hit my peak at 30.
I forgot you used
I peaked at 30, everything is downhill after that. But it's like these little things that are stuck on repeat that just like dig that hole deeper and deeper
Yeah.
and deeper, and so it's catching those things.
Yeah. Well, I'm really interested in this stuck concept because um I kind of feel like it's like there's like the idea of like, well, I'm bored, or it's like there's just probably something underneath that. Because I will tell you, I don't know if it's like the amount of areas that I have in my chart, but I have never felt stuck. That's not a feeling that I've had. So like I'm trying to think like, but I'm thinking like what I can feel from her is like she gets stuck often, like, and it's in a way it's probably looking around at your life and being like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something else and I'm not doing it.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like judgment.
Yeah, I
What
mean,
do you think?
yes. So I'm going to give my personal answer and then we can go into the bubble. But personally, I agree, because the feedback that she gave was that she's at a point in her life where she's considering taking her career to the next level. And if you're in that spot where you're considering, but you're not sure, or you can't decide, like you
You're
can't
not making
commit
the
to,
decision. Yeah,
right, of
course
course
that's
that
stuck.
feels exactly. So like what is the stuck, the feeling, the quote unquote feeling of stuck actually telling you? Which I think is what you were saying.
Yeah, like why are you letting yourself be stuck?
Yeah, and
No
it
one's
could
making
just
you be
be,
stuck. It could be a fear
well,
of the next step or whatever.
or it could be timing, because she said,
Hmm.
I might apply for this job when and if one comes open, because, not always are there just ample opportunities sitting about to apply for. So it could be that she just needs to acknowledge, when and if this opportunity comes open, I am applying for it.
Hmm.
And then seeing if that stuck energy lifts, that feeling lifts, because she's made a decision. And now she's
Right.
just waiting on the universe or the timing of it, so that
Right.
she can move forward. But in the meantime, like the decision's been made, so there's nothing to be stuck around.
Right. And it's not like you wouldn't have that feeling of stuckness if you knew that the minute that job comes open, you're applying for it. You just know that you're waiting it out. Like you
Hmm.
wouldn't feel stuck because you had, like, you're right. It's like the lack of the decision is probably, that's what I was trying to get to. It's like, what
Yeah.
is stuckness? And I think I would say it's like a lack of a decision making.
Yeah, because now so what they just showed me, so this is like a bubble response. What they just showed me is like standing in a corner and facing the actual corner and saying, God, I feel so stuck. And they're like, yeah, turn around. Like you have a choice to make. Turn around.
This reminds me, I was with my family this weekend and my little niece was trying to play fucking Minecraft and I have never seen this in my life and like I can't help her. I don't know how to do it. And she is having a meltdown. It is so bad. Like it's so janky. I don't know what everyone's doing. But
I
you
used
just
to
keep
play that in
she's
college.
just walking into a wall and like over and over and over again. I was like, that's exactly that visual that I just had. Like that character is just like not moving. It's, you used to play it.
Wait, I was thinking of something else called Minecraft. We couldn't walk in that version of Minecraft, so I played a much jankier version of Minecraft. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's like walking, like standing in the corner and just being like, I feel so stuck. Well, yeah, turn around. So they're like,
Right.
there's always a decision that can be made.
Yeah.
Are you willing to look at the potentiality of decisions and to make one?
Right. Okay. That feels clear.
Oh, now they're not done. They're just like,
Okay.
and also, and furthermore, therefore, henceforth, to, for, forever, go. They're just like, they're just, now they're just like, we hate it when humans say I feel stuck.
They don't even ever hate anything.
They're just like, like just, Monday. They're just like, there are unlimited possibilities, unlimited decisions that can be made in every single person's life. Stuck just means I am unwilling to make a decision for fear of making the wrong decision. Therefore, I want the decision to be presented to me in such a way that is so obvious that I can't help but take that action.
Yes. It's like a kind of like a lack of power.
Yeah, self-induced lack of power.
Yeah, right. Like right. Like lack of taking your own power into your own hands is I guess what I was trying to articulate. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. They're like, oh.
They're just like, oh my God, like you humans can do so many things at any point, every day, all day. Why? How could you ever feel stuck? Okay. I think I've said it before. Probably I've said I feel stuck or trapped. Trapped would be my word. because
Trapped.
Freedom is my need
Well-
and desire, so I feel trapped. Again,
Yeah.
turn around like your nose is in the corner of the cage, bozo. Turn around, doors open.
You just are looking the wrong direction.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Okay, I see it. I see it. Always a way out.
That's funny.
Ugh.
But sometimes it is like, sometimes you need the courage, the bravery, the like, to not be scared to make the decision, the like, there's just people that don't like to make decisions or,
Yeah, or we need the frustration of feeling that feeling to take action. Like the energy needs to build. Like I think, like you mentioned you're an Aries, so I feel like there's always that fire. But like I'm not fire. What am I? I'm mostly air and probably earth because of all that Capricorn.
yeah.
Isn't Capricorn earth? So like I feel like for me, like it has to build. And sometimes
Yeah.
it, like the frustration is what creates the fire.
Yeah.
And then I take the action because I've allowed myself to get so frustrated that finally I'm like, wait a minute, like I've got to do
Yeah.
something.
You know what else it is? To talk about the cards for a second.
Yes.
It's your suit, probably.
Oh.
So like, well, I don't know. I mean, the spades are the action takers.
Right.
And so because my hand of my cards sits over a line of spades, that's like, I consider that my second suit. It's complicated, guys. But so like, I think you just have the people that, and I don't know, it's not always just the suit, it's not just the astrology, but these are examples of like where it comes from. It's like just your own person and like how like much of an action taker you are. And sometimes taking an action is not the right move.
It's
I've
true.
done that a lot of times.
Pausing is also
Just wait
important.
a second. Yeah, pause, let it
Yeah.
settle, feel
Yeah,
into it.
I think it's the decision.
It's the
like-
actual decision.
Right. It's because pausing is taking an action. Like I'm going to wait. I'm going to
Right.
give myself this time. That's also an action. Which ironically, when you mentioned the whole hand thing, I think I have a lot of clubs in my hand. So I would be like the mental, like running through options, like mental, like, and also just wanting the opportunity to be clearly shown to me.
Right.
But then at some point, like a decision just has to be made.
Right. It's really the like, right. It's the, not to use another metaphor or whatever, but it's like having a crack in the door, like the door cracked open. So like the idea is that the door is wide open or it's closed, but when it's cracked, it's the problem because you're either fully on making the decision like yes, or fully being like, I'm just going to wait 2 weeks and then make this decision.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've told people like, listen, first of all, you're thinking about things too far in the future, but second of all, just put it in your calendar. When can you put it in your calendar? 6 months from now? Like, when is this decision needing to be made? Just put it in your calendar. I'm going to think about this again in 6 months, and I'm not thinking about it until then.
Right.
But give
'Cause
yourself
we're
a break from it.
Also, right. Also afraid of forgetting and not getting to it and not doing it.
And if we don't do it now, we're going to miss something.
Right. So we just
All
keep
that
it on
stuff.
repeat. Right. So many things. I don't even remember what the initial question was, but good. It was good.
So, I don't either. That was the record groups and going to the record store.
We were all over the place, but it worked out. It was good. I like it.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
good.
So I had never thought about the fact that it was the judging. Right.
Yeah, it's the judging that's actually the problem. Yep. Always. It always is. It's always the problem.
Always. Yeah.
That wraps this episode of One Card Shy. Did you love it? Leave us a review, share it with your friends, and sign up for our monthly crown straightener. Bonus, you'll get our free Claim Your Crown guide when you subscribe.
And be sure to find us on Instagram and check out our website. Both are rainworld.co. All the links are below. See you next time, Queens.